Welcome back to Making Money Now here on Power Lunch. Ever wondered what happens to real estate seized from drug dealers or IRS liens involved or simple mortgage foreclosures? We're going to talk about that right now. Once the government no longer needs the evidence or banks have to foreclose on a debtor, properties eventually find their way back onto the market, usually via an auction. Why you should listen up is that they usually do so at a discount to their actual value. So maybe sometimes you can get a steal on distressed properties. Joining is a man who should know about this. He is Ian Aronovich, who's the president and CEO of GovernmentAuctions.org. He joins us today from New York. Ian, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Before we get to the specifics, and I'm fascinated by this because I've been invited to many of these auctions, assess the risk level. We should say that up front. How much risk are we talking about?
Well, the risk is always what you make it. If you do your due diligence properly and if you research the value of what you're buying, you're going to go about it in a much smarter way, and you're probably going to lessen your risk. There's no clear way to say that there's a 20–30% risk. I think it differs with every particular situation, and surely there is a risk, especially if you don't use your head.
The two kinds of auctions. One, the government auctions. Tell me about those.
Well, the government auctions come in two different types. One is the seized property auctions. The other one is the surplus property auctions. The seized property auctions, as you mentioned, are the ones that are a result of drug seizures, IRS seizures, and other ill-gotten gains. Well, essentially, the government would sell the property, or would have a third party auctioneer sell the property, and the average person, the public, would be able to attend these auctions and bid it up, and then the property would go to the highest bidder.
Right.
And a lot of this is cars, electronics, jewelry, and so on and so forth. But there's a lot of real estate also.
Yeah. In that regard, the other kind you can go to, the foreclosures. Tell me about those.
Well, with regard to foreclosures, those are actually private. That's when
usually the bank is involved, or some kind of a lender, right?
Well, yeah, the bank or some kind of lender, or some kind of lender insurance agency is involved. And what happens there is the bank forecloses based on a contract that you signed with it when you essentially put your mortgage together. It forecloses on your property in order to cover its security interest, which the security interest in this case is the property you put up when you took out the mortgage to cover the loan.
How do I find out about these? I mean, you can get auction notices, you get a notice of default, right?
Well, yeah, there's a bunch of different ways that you can find out about it. The two most common ones are, a lot of times these auction sales and foreclosure sales are advertised in the legal journals, in your local papers, and so on and so forth, because there are statutory requirements that make the bank or the trustee advertise these particular auctions for anywhere between 3 to 5 weeks before the actual sale takes place.
Right.
The other thing you can do is, obviously, you can go to places that aggregate the information, such as we do, and we're at GovernmentAuctions.org.
And there's the website right there.
Right.
Now, let me ask you, this I found fascinating. You can, if you choose to, when you find out about a particular property, you can go to the owner before the auction and try and cut a private deal to begin with, yes?
Well, yeah, there are 3 stages in a foreclosure during which you can actually buy the property at a discount. And the first one, as you said, is approaching the owner. And this is once the notice of default is served by the bank. It is also recorded with the local recording office or the town clerk. And
how risky is that if you're going to go cut a side deal like this?
Well, it depends. It's essentially what you make it. You're approaching the owner, and what happens at a foreclosure sale is the owner would lose a property. In addition to that, if the auction didn't fetch enough of a price, then the owner would be responsible for anything under. Basically, the bank can go after him for a deficiency judgment.
Especially if you go to auctions, sometimes on these foreclosure auctions, the lender is the first bidder, right?
Well, yeah, in all of these auctions, essentially, the lender will be the first bidder, because the lender has what you call a lien on the property, and it'll put up its lien right off the bat in a credit bid, so as to, first of all, to keep the price, the bidding price above it, and second of all, if no one else bids, the lender will simply take it off their hands and put up its lien instead.
Obviously, we're not going to cover it all, but it is something that you absolutely must know all the variables before you get into something like this. But it is fascinating. It could be a way to make money as well. And if you go to one of these aggregate websites like GovernmentAuctions.org, That's probably a pretty good place to start there. Ian, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Ian Aronovich, President and CEO of GovernmentAuctions.org. You can check out that website, as we said, for more information.